I doing it?
I know.
Isn't there something?
Welcome. My name is BJ Barhani, and I'm the founder and director of the Beta Israel and North America Cultural Foundation, a non-profit organization that was formed to promote and educate the culture and heritage of Ethiopian Jews. Shalom. Good evening. My name is Bizu Rekimulu. I am one of the founder of Hasidash Mela for Ethiopian Jewish community in North America. And welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Tonight, this evening, is to raise an awareness to the issues that are currently affecting Ethiopian Jews in Israel. We're going to have a discussion and eventually to find a solution to a problem that is affecting our brothers and sisters in Israel. Just to let you know, this problem is not only affecting the Ethiopian Jewish community. Overall, it's affecting the whole image of Israel. And we would like to see a resolution, at least a start, to bring a solution to this problem. At this point, I would like to thank Columbia Barnard Hiller for collaborating with us. Thank you so much. Especially, I would like to thank Thor. If you are here, raise your hand. I would like to thank Israeli Heart. Without them, we couldn't make it happen tonight. Joe is here. I hope he's going to say a few words. He's always there for us. He's like entire 100% involved with Ethiopian Jews in Israel, especially with the students. Education will make us, equal. So he's working in that. And also here, always, I call him anytime I have a problem. Joey always there for us. Joey, please.
Thanks to Barnard Hillel, and welcome to all the guests. Very nice to see everybody here. I just wanted to take a few minutes quickly to explain a little bit about Israel at Heart. We started 10 years ago because I was very concerned about the way people. I was very concerned about 10 years ago about the way people who didn't really know Israel saw Israel. And so what I started to do was bring students, university students, to travel around first America, then around South America, around Europe, just to talk about their lives as students. And from the very beginning, it was 3 students would go in each group. We started at the very beginning. I'm a New Yorker, so we included in each group of 3 students 1 Ethiopian Israeli. And what I found was that people were very interested, wherever we went, about how did that person get to Israel? How was it that they were Jewish? They were very curious about that topic. And so we brought about 1,000 students over the years, and I developed a very close relationship with the Ethiopian Israeli students that I met over the years. Batya is one of the students who came on the very first trip with us, ended up moving to New York and helped really build, our organization. About 6 years ago, we started at the IDC, which is a college in Israel, a program called Israel at Heart Scholarship Program for the Ethiopian Israeli community. We started with 6 students, and every year we added another 15. So this year we have 50 students studying law, business, accounting, communication, and then we help them get summer jobs, we help them do internships, and then finally get a job, which I'm very, very proud of. There are a couple of students tonight who will be speaking. Dina is one of them, who is a law student at our school in the scholarship program, and Yaniv, who is a Fulbright scholar at Boston and at Brandeis University. He also is a student who graduated, the program. We brought 9 Ethiopian Israeli law students to travel around this country, meeting with lawyers from, we were down in Atlanta, New York, and Boston, meeting with other lawyers, law students, and explaining the difference, and this I hope will come out this evening, the difference between discrimination and racism in Israel compared to what people in this country who, when they hear those words, they think an entirely different thing. And I hope that the students tonight will, deal with that issue, because to people who travel to Israel, I think it's very clear to them that when we say those words, which to me are horrible words that really, we come up very emotional words, they mean something completely different in Israel. And I really hope that that comes through this evening. Because what I love about the students that I work with, everyone has gone into the Army. Everyone has, in our group, goes to the university. They study and they feel very, very much a part of Israeli society. And I think, again, that's hopefully tonight that will be very clear to all of you that are here, that Israel is a beacon of light in an area in the world which is a very dangerous area. And again, hopefully sometime tonight we'll get that feeling. Let's see. Well, I hope this night is informative and that you get a good and better understanding of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joey. Now we're going to show you a short video clip about the current events in Israel, and from there we're going to lead our discussion.
I'm here in Jerusalem across from the Knesset where hundreds of Ethiopians are protesting against what they call racism and discrimination in Israeli society. Their anger peaked about 2 weeks ago when a TV News investigative report revealed that over 100 Israeli families in the town in the south signed an agreement not to rent or sell apartments to Ethiopians. Today they're sending a message to the government that they have to do more to protect their rights. Some of the posters behind me are in English, Amharic, and Hebrew. Many of them simply say, "Stop the discrimination."
I was in the army 5 years, officer in the Israeli army. Now I demand my rights back.
גם וגם. אני מקווה שיראו אותי. I've never seen such racism, and it was in broad daylight. People were, it was about 120 families that signed a petition against black people, against Ethiopian people, that they don't want us to live at their neighborhood. And we live in a democratic country, and we never thought this would happen here.
What do you think the government can do about this problem here in Israel with discrimination against Ethiopians?
The story of these Ethiopian Jews coming to Israel is one of the greatest stories of Zionism. And they need to know that we respect them as a society, and the Israeli government gives them what any Israeli citizen gets. And this is something that relates to standard of living, respect, and this is something that needs to be done today. And it's not an Ethiopian problem, it's the problem of the Israeli society.
You feel like you have to always prove yourself to others, even though you were raised here and you've done everything, just like others. You constantly need to prove yourself, and we don't want that anymore.
Even though if I'm white, it doesn't matter. Not only black people need to be here. Not only Ethiopian, it's something that all the Jewish people, all the Israeli need to be here.
Mayor, you have your face painted. A lot of people here do. What is the message?
The message is it's not a matter, it's black or white. We are a person. This is the message.
Jewish people has been discriminated all their history outside of Israel. Now we are here together. They just don't have to discriminate us based on racism. And we are all Jewish, and this is our country. We should all be equal.
Ada, I want to ask you as an Israeli why you felt it was important to come here today.
Because I think that Israeli society hasn't learned anything from all the other immigration groups that came here and is doing exactly the same thing with Ethiopians. And I think it's a disgrace. I think it's a disgrace. But I'm very happy, very optimistic, because I'm seeing a lot of young, strong people who will not let the government completely smash them.
ሰው ስራ የሚመለስበት አሁን ሰዓት እስከሆነ ድረስ መንገዱን እየዘጉ መሄድ
The crowd here is going to proceed to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's house, and after that to the center of Jerusalem, to Zion Square. The protests will go on for a number of hours. The question is whether tomorrow lawmakers here will really take this protest seriously, and perhaps there will be some change. Jordana Miller, JN1, Jerusalem.
Few of our Ethiopian community New Yorkers that put this effort together, and the reason really that came about is as an Ethiopian Jew that we really love and care for Israel, but yet we want to make sure that every Israeli citizen, regardless of color or gender, have equal treatment in Israel. So this is the reason we gather here tonight, to make sure we outreach to the Israeli government and ask them to enforce and make some change for the betterment of Israeli society. Right now, we're going to have a distinguished panel to lead us in this discussion. Our moderator for tonight is Professor Ephraim Isaac. I'm sure most of you heard of him. He is the first founder of the African American Studies at Harvard University. When the department was created in 1969, he's the author of numerous scholarly works. He's the chairman of the Coalition of Ethiopian Elders and the director of Semitic Studies at Princeton University. Please welcome Dr. Ephraim Isaac.
Consulate Public Affairs, Consulate in New York. Please welcome.
And I would like to invite Nancy Kaufman, is the Executive Officer of National Council of Jewish Women and the former Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council, JCRC, of Boston, for 20 years, where she led social justice, Israel advocacy, and governmental affairs agendas for Boston Jewish Federation. Please welcome Nancy.
We would like to invite Rabbi Sharon Shalom. Rabbi Sharon Shalom is a scholar, he's a professor, he's a rabbi. He's teaching at Bar-Ilan University. He just published his book, last week, the first book, Ethiopian rabbi writing about Shulchan Aruch. He was here actually when the book came out. He's speaking. He was in Chicago. He's now here with us. So really honored to have him here.
Also, I would like to invite Avigdor Baruch, Israeli, born in Israel, in the city of Ashdod. He is current Fulbright Scholar at Global Leadership Fellow at Brandeis University. Please welcome Avigdor.
We would like to invite Dina Lato. Dina Lato, she's a student in IDC. She's two lawyer student. She's doing law and business, law and government. So when she finishes, we're not going to have any problems in Israel. She will take care of everything for us. So please be listening, and hopefully later on we will open it for questions. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to express my profound thanks to our two presenters, Ricky and DJ. What makes me very happy is United We Stand, Divided We Fall. When I see them working together, it just makes me jump up and down. So thank you very much. And as you all know, both of these two ladies have been working very hard in this community to introduce the Ethiopian Jewish community and to work for the program of the Ethiopian Jewish community. And you can see now when there are problems, they're always there. In fact, I guess they told me I'll be the moderator. That means I can make as many mistakes as I want. The others shouldn't make mistakes. I'll just start like I usually, of course, give lectures. So it's very difficult to be a moderator for me, because a moderator is not supposed to speak too much. But let me say, they asked me also to say a few words right at the beginning, and to introduce the speakers as they do. Personally, for many years, as many of you, and she mentioned 1969, am I that old? I see Erwin here, who was at Harvard in the 60s, and he knows we were at that time thinking about Ethiopian Jews, but people were asking, who are they? What are these people? Where did they come from? In the mid-60s. And I also see another person who was at the American Consulate, Gil, no?
Yeah, Gil.
Gil in Ethiopia means foolish. So I call him Gil. In fact, he and I walked together up the mountain 1-6 times. So as I look at people who have been here for years, interested in Ethiopian Jews, and I'm sure they are witnesses that in those days, interest, appreciation, and understanding of Ethiopian Jews were zero. So we've gone a long way. So we must first of all be very thankful that we've gone a long way. There was a time when, in the mid-60s, in fact, even people in Israel were questioning about the identity of Ethiopian Jews, who they are. So we've made tremendous progress from the days where there was an almost total rejection of Ethiopian Jews in Israel to today, when they have become accepted and they become part of the society. What continues now is not racism, it's ignorance. One of the courses I taught at Harvard was called Concept and History of Slavery. And during those days, I learned a tremendous amount about what the European world thought about Africa. African people of color, that they do not speak at night because they don't have grammar and syntax in their language. They don't really know who God is. I mean, the kind of or stories like they have a facial angle that flows to the crocodiles because the intelligent face is flat. The crocodile is stuff like that. All this deep ignorance, whether you like it or not, in South Africa or West Africa, this kind of problem is today being largely handled within Israel. I remember I was a visiting professor at the Hebrew University in 1973-74. And when I asked how many students are there from the Eastern world, they told me 15%. But the Israeli community was 60%. And in fact, I happened to be part Yemenite, so the Yemenite community invited me to be a member of their organization, and they said, we need a Yemenite professor. I said, but I'm an Ethiopian. They said, but we need a Yemenite professor. I said, well, is there no Yemenite professor here in Israel? They said, no, this is in the mid-70s. So we have made progress, and we shall make progress. But the ignorance that continues today should not be interpreted as being based on, the way I put it is this, that Judaism is not a religion based on race. The centrality of contemporary Judaism. In fact, if we start talking about color, there are places in the Mishnah that describes Jews are being rather dark, rather than blonde and black. Even those references were not based on racism, they were simply based on certain medical analysis of human skin and so on. I don't want to get into that. So this kind of situation that we have today is not representative, or shall I say, of the spirit of the Jewish people, or the people of Israel. It is a representative of the ignorant minority that are biased, and such people exist everywhere. They exist right here in New York City. They exist throughout the world, and they cause a problem because it requires a few people to destroy, when it requires a huge number of people to build. So that I look at the people of Israel as people committed to the Torah, to the Nevi'im, who looked at the world. In the Midrash it says, when the Mashiach comes, the people of Ethiopia, the Kush, this is Midrash Tehillim, will come standing next to the Israelites first, even before the Egyptians. You all read about Isha Kushi, Moses' wife. You think she was blonde and blue-eyed? So, I'm not supposed to be the speaker tonight, so I'll give a course in this subject. But all I want to say is, in short, is the problem we're facing today is not it's not a Jewish problem, it's not a racial problem, it's a problem of ignorance. Unfortunately, the ignorance of some very powerful people, some people who are in a position of authority, and they exist right in the Jewish community in America. Now, the first person who is supposed to speak tonight is Mr. D. Liner. He's the Consul for Public Diplomacy at the Consulate General of Israel in New York, and I invite him now to the podium before I start talking. Continue.
Thank you, Professor. I would gladly give you my time. Really enjoyed thoroughly hearing you speak now for the first time, so if you want to come back, I'm more than happy to. Before I start speaking, I'd like to say something. First and foremost, I'm a father. And as one, I think a lot about education and the way to make the world a better place for my children. And I think in many ways our gathering here tonight is about that. It's not about politics. It's not about, I don't know, political views. It's not about a political system. It's about finding a way to have our children live in a better society, in a better world, where equality is not just a word on a paper, but something that everybody enjoys immediately. And it's as clear or as understandable or as present in this room as the air that we breathe and the water we drink, what's on that table, and the electricity that we use. Unfortunately, this is not the case. It's not the case in Israel in some places or in some events. It's not the case anywhere in the world, unfortunately, today. And if there's anything that I think that we should do tonight is try and discuss and see how we can better educate our children and some of the elderly among us about ways to better our lives, about ways that we can find to talk to each other on an equal level, on a level where we talk to each other as human beings, not as parts or representatives of a race, of a gender, or of a minority. I'm a son of immigrants. I'm a first generation born Israeli. My family went through a lot to get to Israel. They suffered persecution where they came from. They suffered discrimination where they came from. And they came to Israel because it was a safe haven for them. the people represented here tonight by some wonderful young people that I met earlier during this week also went through the same story. They came to Israel because they wanted a better place to live, and their parents wanted a better place for them to live because they were persecuted and discriminated against where they came from. The story of the immigration of the Ethiopian Jews is an inspiring one. It's a story that every Israeli is proud of. It's being taught, but it should be taught more. It's being talked about, but it should be talked about more. Because this is what Israel stands for. There are people in Israel from over 100 countries, with over 70 spoken languages. There's no way that we could have built what we built in Israel unless we do it together. And there's no way we'll be able to preserve it and to continue to flourish unless we do it together. So when coming here to talk tonight, and coming here to sit on this distinguished podium, yes, I represent a government. I represent the Israeli government. I'm a proud representative of my country. I'm a proud representative of Israel. But first and foremost, I'm a human being. I'm a Jew. I'm an Israeli. As in such, I can tell you that you're all my brothers and sisters. As such, I can tell you this. You have us on our side. You have us on your side because we're all together. There are no sides here. And the way that we can move forward is the only way that we can move forward, will be a way in which we can find a path that unites us. We need to concentrate about education, and you talked about it earlier, and I think you're very right. We need to find a way to enlighten people, teach them, and let them understand that it doesn't really matter what color your skin is. It doesn't really matter where your parents come from. What matters is who you are, what are you bringing to this world, and are you in fact willing to negotiate and live your life peacefully with others, understanding that they have exactly the same rights as you have. These are the foundations that the state of Israel was built upon. These are, in fact, some of the foundations of our belief and of our coming together as a people. And I think later on we'll be able to talk about that as well. And the last thing I really wanted to tell you is that I'm very happy to see all of you here tonight, a night in which the Israeli president speaks at one part of the city. There's another Israeli minister who's having another event somewhere else in the city. And there's at least another 2 community events I know of happening in the tri-state area. The fact that all of you have gathered here tonight is a very encouraging sign. It tells me that there's something we need to talk about. It tells me that the discussion we're going to have is a worthy one. And it tells me that there are enough people here in this room and represent enough people outside of this room that care about the future, they are interested about the future, they want to hear and see and learn how we can together have a better future in Israel and here. Thank you, and we will talk later.
Concluding comments. Now I would like to introduce, by the way, you forgot that President Obama is also in town. So I'm very impressed to see this crowd, in spite of all these activities going on. Well, let me put it this way. The next panelist is Ms. Nancy A. Kaufman. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Council of Jewish Women. Did you bring beautiful women with you? Oh, good. And she is also the former Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of Boston, where I lived for many years, where she led the social justice, Israel and advocacy, and governmental affairs agendas for Boston's Jewish Federation and its agencies.
You'll recognize the accent right away. Anyway, it's a pleasure, really a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank Baksha for inviting me, an old friend and advocate, fellow advocate. I came across town after Shimon Peres finished speaking. I made it on time. It's a miracle. And what a brilliant spokesperson for the state of Israel. He was as elegant and articulate as he always is. And I always feel optimistic when I hear Shimon Peres about the future. I just want to comment that we're sitting in the Craft Center of Columbia Hillel, and I should just note, not only because I'm from Boston, not only because I'm a Patriots fan, excuse me, but because Myra and Robert Kraft have been long-time advocates of Ethiopian Jewry. And Myra a dear friend passed away this past summer at a very young age. But some of you will remember, I know Barbara Ribicoff, Gordon, where are you, Barbara? From NACOJ will remember, that in 1999, I believe it was, at the Chicago GA, the General Assembly of all the federations in Chicago, Myra Kraft at the time was chairing our Ethiopian Jury Committee in Boston. It was a committee that had been formed many years before. In fact, Boston and Los Angeles were the first two communities in the country who took a mission to Ethiopia to actually find the remnant Jewish population that no one believed really existed, and that was in the early 1980s when they went to Gondar. And so I asked Myra, she was chairing the GA that year, if she wouldn't perhaps host in her suite at 11 o'clock at night the head of the JDC, the head of the Jewish Agency, the Minister of Absorption, the Minister of Education, and everybody else, every other dignitary, so that we could talk about how we were going to solve the problem that was emerging, both in terms of Ethiopians who were still left in Ethiopia, and also the absorption, the appropriate and right absorption. And I remember at the time, it was before the Ethiopian National Project, the promises that were made. So it's sobering to be here tonight and sad in a lot of ways, and yet I think, as Gil said, enormous progress has been made. So we sit in the Kraft Center that's named after Myra and Robert Kraft, and I just think it's so significant because those of you who know Myra know she was a tremendous advocate on behalf of Ethiopian Jews. I just want to say I'm wearing two hats here. One is I'm a former director of the JCRC in Boston for 20 years. And one of my proudest accomplishments was really the work we did on behalf of Ethiopians. I remember Barbara and her staff taking me to the caravans in Hafa Carmel way back when I was first learning about the issue of Ethiopian Jews in Israel, when there were 3,600 families living in caravans right outside Haifa. Haifa was Boston's sister city through Partnership 2000, and right from there I went to a meeting with Mayor Mitzna, Ami Mitzna, who was mayor at the time, and I, being a little bit chutzpahdik, I said, Mr. Mitzna, Mr. Mayor, what are you doing about all the families and children in the caravans? And he looked at me and he said, oh, Hafa Carmel, that's not part of Haifa. That's a different municipality. And I said, well, that's interesting, because there's 426 children in your schools in Haifa. And he didn't know that there were 426 kids in the school. So that began a process of us working with the leadership of the Ethiopian community in Haifa, then very tiny, now numbering more than 5,000 families, and talking for many years back and forth, and thinking and dreaming about how we could create an empowerment model that would really create Haifa as a model for all of Israel. And very long story short, we can talk about more on the questions. The Federation head in Boston, Barry Schrage, some of you probably know Barry, challenged us to come up with a big idea, a big plan, and not nickel and dime it. And so working with the Ethiopian community in Haifa, we came up with the Shiluvim program. Shiluvim means integration. And it is an empowerment program, I'm happy to say, that was based on the basic principle that Ethiopian citizens need to be engaged and involved at every level of decision-making in any program that any organization develops. It's a multi-year program in order to strengthen the community of 5,000 Ethiopians in Haifa. It's sponsored by the JCRC, the Federation, Combined Jewish Philanthropies, and the Haifa municipality. And it's operating in 3 neighborhoods in Haifa. And it's based on a model that focuses on education, family and community empowerment, employment, health, and multicultural sensitivity. And I'm proud of the results. The Brookfield Institute is evaluating it. I'm also proud now to be the CEO of the National Council of Jewish Women, which is right around the corner, and to be leading a national organization of progressive Jewish women who have as one of their priorities the empowerment of Ethiopians and the integration of Ethiopians, as well as women and gender issues in Israel. So it is a pleasure to be here. I feel like I'm coming home to be with my brothers and sisters in the Ethiopian community, both here in New York and in Israel. So thank you.
Our next speaker is supposed to be Rabbi Shalom, but he wants to give a blessing at the end. So we'll put him at the end. So right now, maybe just to alternate men, women, I'll ask for Abidor Baruch, who is a native Israeli, born Ethiopian, and raised in Ashdod. He is presently a Fulbright Fellow at Brandeis University, studying business school and getting MBA. Oh, you want to be a millionaire? You want to get an MBA? That's good. I wish you good luck.
Everybody. My name is Abidor Baruch. First of all, I want to thank Batya, Vijay, and Ricky for inviting me here and participating in this panel.
Louder.
Louder. Louder. Okay, here we go. I'm a native Israeli. My parents came from Ethiopia in the 1970s. I'm the oldest of three. I'm 29 currently. As Nicole, I'm a student at Rabbinic University. I went to the Army. I graduated with excellence my high school. I went to the Army. I served 3.5 years in the Navy. Been a commander in the Navy. And then I followed and went, as most Israelis, to Bar-Ilan University to pursue my first degree, my undergraduate degree in electrical engineering. I'll be short. We've heard great commentary from our distinguished guests about Israel and how we should address racism or ignorance about Ethiopia. I should tell you that in most Ethiopian students at this point are looking for just equality and rights. Just to have the equal rights, the equal opportunity to pursue their dreams in Israel. They want to have life. They go into the army. They're fulfilling all their duties as citizens, as lawful citizens, and they want the same opportunity that everybody else is getting in that country. We still need to have more work. Still more work needs to be done, as we see here today. The government needs to inform the public more, educate us better, educate the little kids, little children about the Ethiopian heritage. And there's a rich heritage for all these men. I've been, for the past 10 years, studying the Ethiopian heritage more and more, and I've been fascinated every time. So, in the end, I just wanted to say that more work needs to be done. Yes, progress has been done. We are a testament for that. Students over here, the Ethiopians are sitting in the crowd today. It's a big progress. But more progress needs to be done. The job is not over. And I want just to say that, and that could be here to the government itself, that we need more work in the Ethiopian community. And I think Shiluvim, and I know about Shiluvim a little bit more because I'm participating with the JCRC, the Shiluvim program, advocating that. And we need more of Shiluvim all around the country to help us fulfill our dreams. Thank you very much.
Everybody knows how to be short. It's wonderful. We're moving ahead. Now, I would like to call upon our sister, the Orthodox of Israel, Dina Lako, currently a third-year law and government student, pursuing her MA in business law at IDC Healthcare. It's a high school, no? She is an active leader of the student movement that is currently leading the fight against discrimination. You look like a leader.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here. So I see that he represents me. And so my name is Dina. I'm 26 years old. I'm the third generation. I'm also native. I born in Israel a year after my family, as most of you know, did the whole journey from Ethiopia through the desert of Sudan back to walking. My mom, she's one of the bravest women in the world because she did the whole journey while she was pregnant with my older brother, that today is 28 years. You know, we didn't have any birth certification, so I guess 28, 29, this is the average. And I, as a Victor, finished my high school in Jerusalem. I studied very prestigious high school. And after that, I joined the army. I was a lieutenant in the army, social worker. So it's very, let's say, surrealistic to Ethiopian to be a social worker, because usually the Ethiopian community are coming from the, let's say that not like the poor people. And for me to become a social officer, to give the aid and help in any financial issue to other groups, were very, let's say, not honorable, but for me it let me know all the aspects and point of view about Israeli society. So as you see, as you saw in the movie, we have kind of issue in the last almost 2 months, issue that all the time was in the Israeli society. Maybe it was under the surface, but it exists. But I just want to open with very important sentence. For us, for most of us, we live in a democratic country, it's very obvious. But to go out to the streets and to protest against or in front of the House of Representatives without arresting you or without shutting down everything, it's the essence of a democratic country, which is Israel. And as an Israeli, I have first to open this session with this sentence. Israel is a democracy, and we have the freedom of speech, and this is actually the fact that helping us, me and my friends, all the representatives of the Ethiopian community, to do this to protest. So this is first thing. So a little bit about our let's say battle. It started at Kiryat Malachi. Kiryat Malachi actually is my originally hometown. My family lives over there, and when I know from my mom, when she heard of the first time about that, she told me that she left the house and actually went to that building, and a group of people started to yell at that person and the people and all the people that live in that building. So let's move on to the process. What we are demanding is an equal rights, and we're working together a few groups kind of raised up or created or already exist, and we all together try to fight in order to achieve our goal. And the last 2 weeks, we actually finished our the 10 commandments or 10 demands that we have, and it addressed to the prime ministers and to a few ministers that are included and can have affected on any decision that they can make. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to think again. Okay, so I can later explain more about our process if you have more questions. But another very important thing to say, that we all spoke about education, how it's important, and that education is the key. And this is also my opinion. The education is the key to promote the Ethiopian society. Education is the key to have an equal rights. Once people will know us and hear our personal story or meet individual, this actually can make the change. And a proof of that is the Israel Heart program in IDC that I'm a student in that program. And I can tell you that IDC is very prestigious color people, I don't think that, when I'm thinking about my friends, I think that I'm the first Ethiopian that they ever met. I'm not judging them, I'm not blaming them, but this is the reality. Because they're coming from, let's say, different cities that the population of the Ethiopian are very low, or even not exist at all. And I can tell you that they changed their mind. I know that my friends, I know that they have a certain opinion about the Ethiopian. I can say that it was lack of knowledge. I can say that it was ignorance. You can use many terms, but the essence is the lack of the information, the lack of the education that they had. And once they met me and knew about me and see how successful I am in school and how I'm speaking with the professors and the way that I'm acting, the way I'm dressing, and they really changed their mind, because through me they see the Ethiopian community, and this is actually what we need to do. We need to have, each of us must be the ambassador of the Ethiopian community. This is what I'm thinking. This is what every day when I wake up in the morning and go to IDC, this is my state of mind. I know that I'm the representative of the Ethiopian community. Through me, they can see everything. I know that there's a lot more to do, a lot, and I know that we can do it. I know that we can do it because we're living in a democracy, and I really believe in Israel, and I believe that we can do it, because in the last 28 years there is a progress, and it will continue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Rabbi Shalom, and he will come here. Maybe if you need explanation, maybe shall I say standing, or you can handle it? Okay. I'm happy to say Rabbi Shalom is the first Israeli Ethiopian lecturer at Bar-Ilan University and the author of Ethiopian Shulchan Aruch. He's a very learned Jewish scholar, and I'm very, very happy to see him here again.
Shalom Aleichem. First, ברשות המכובדים, first I want to tell you that after 2000 of exile and suffering and all who seek to destroy Jewish people, after 2000 of exile, after Paro, after Nebuchadnezzar, after Hitler, Germany, the Jewish people building beautiful home in Medina Israel. This is the best of the best that happened to Jewish people after 2000 of exile. This is the best of the best. This is the first thing that we must know. But you know, to building home is not easy. I am married, Baruch Hashem, with 2 children, my wife. But the life before I dreamed to be married, and the life after that I fulfill my marriage is very different. You know, one person is dreamer, and his dream, he goes the next world, and he enters in the paradise, okay? And he say, the great of people, tzaddikim, learn Torah like this, and he is paradise, and say, wow, I want to visit in Gehenom, in the hand. And he go to the hand, and he say, wow, have girls, and hashish, and disco, and everything, wow, great, this is Gehenom, and say, this is a big praise for me. This was only dream. he went up. After 80 years, he died, go past, and he arrived reality next world, and he asked him, excuse me, what do you want? You want paradise or you want Gehenna? He imagined that he remembered what he saw as the first time he saw. He said, I want to go to the Gehenna. and he went to the Gehenna, and when he entered the Gehenna, he got all the punishment that exists in the Gehenna. And he asked, what's going on, sir? What changed? What is the girls, the disco? And answer, listen, the time you visit here, you was a tourist, but you are a new immigrant. You know, have a dream, big dream, and we Jewish people dream 2,000 of exile, and after 2,000 of exile, we have fulfilled our dream. But fulfill dream is not easy. It's not easy because I know what is to holding house in my house. I must understand my wife, and she must understand me, and have kids, and you know, the house in Medinat Israel is like family. And our sages, Baruch Hashem, Casey, Shmagile, when they telling us something, they first telling story. And let me to read you something here. The grapes is Anavim. 4 beggars stood in front of the big mosque. A man came out of the mosque and gives them a handout. Take this count, this is tzedakah. Take this count and buy whatever you want, says the man. I know what we can do, says the first beggar who was Persian. We can buy angur and split it among us. No, says the second beggar in Arabic. I want to buy enough with discount. No way, said the third beggar who was Turkish. Not angur and not enough. We will buy uzum. Wow. The fourth beggar was Greek, and he too could not agree with his friend. No, what are you talking about? I want stafid. So they argue some more, and behold, without knowing, they all asked for the same thing, but they all asked for it in their own language. They all wanted grapes. They all wanted a nice cluster of grapes that they could break their honey. This Sipur telling us what's going on in Israel today. Know what's going on with Ethiopian Jewish community. You know, if we see the movie here, say, wow, oy vey in Yiddish, oy vey zmir. Okay? Oy vey zmir. What Israeli society do to Ethiopian Jewish community because they black? I think to change to the problem, this problem, to particular Ethiopian Jewish problem, this is a big sin. Why? Because this problem with the Ethiopian Jewish community represent what happened in Israeli society today. Because, you know, not because I am black, have a big connection between Haredi people and between no-Jewish, no religious. Haredi, secular and Haredi. Ashkenazi, Sephardi, okay? And have also Russian and Ethiopian, Moroccan, okay? I am a rabbi, Ashkenazi rabbi, Ashkenazi Jew. All of them, they from Holy Ghost. And sometimes people can't understand how Ethiopian rabbi will be rabbi for Ashkenazi. But this is exactly what happened in Israel. Now, to change the problem, because we are black. No, because you're black. lot of groups. Ashkenazi, Sfaradi, and Haredi. This is a big problem. And I want to tell you again, to change this problem to Ethiopian Jewish community, this first thing, and also this is a big, danger for Ethiopian Jewish community. Because the second generation coming, we tell them, Israeli society, racism. Either if you want to be rabbi, and if you want, you have succeed, you never can found succeed because Israeli society don't love you because you're black. This is a message for the second generation coming is not good. Because this problem is not problem, the Ethiopian problem. This problem, this is Israeli society between rabbi, professor. I am sure that if the Mashiach will be coming, must be Ethiopian. Why? Because if the Mashiach will be Ashkenazi, Saradi tell him, no way. Booz. If the Mashiach will be Saradi, Ashkenazim tell, oy ve'izmir shvarze. Okay? If the Mashiach will be Yemenite, say, oy, first Ramatkal. If the Mashiach will be Russia, say, oy, Agosh Yoko. Okay? So, no, the single chance the Mashiach will be coming, he is Ethiopian. Why? Because I don't know, in Israel, when the people meet me, say, oh, he's so cute. Okay, so all Am Yisrael say, see him, oh, he's so cute. Go to be Mashiach. Closing. I teach in Bar Ilan, and I also rabbi in Ashkenazi Shul, okay, and I have house, children, wife. This is because I have one secret for this. When you read Latvia, when you like this, you blame someone, Israeli, Haredi, Ashkenazi, you're not good. One finger right here, and three fingers coming up here. Where you blame someone, ask for you, if you do something for you, succeed. So in Eretz Israel today, I never blame someone, I never. If in my wife, I blame her, you're not good, tomorrow morning we have divorce. So this is not easy. Have problem for Ethiopian Jewish community, have problem. But this is a problem, not particular problem to Ethiopian Jewish. This is a general problem in Jewish state today. But after all, Baruch Hashem, אני חושב, יש קשיים, have difficult.
But in the meantime, I'm talking to my friends and my family through the internet, and I can tell you, again, it is what's happening today. We've seen, I think, the ignorance or the atmosphere was kind of dormant over the last few decades. But every time we've seen this ignorance raising its head with these kind of events, and I think, yes, to your question, yes, this is very much what's going on. And I think the past 2 months actually brought this issue into the homes of the Israelis in prime time and telling them, yes, they still have problems. They still need to work on our society and how we need to work for our future, for the future of our children. We're not done yet. So that's something.
Thank you. Maybe Dina will jump to you.
Well, I think that the only one that actually worked this protest, I think that, of course, it is actually represent what happens in Israel. But I think the most important thing is to see how all the young Ethiopian really have, as you said earlier, the Israeli chutzpah. Okay, they all became Israelis. we are not trying to be quiet anymore. We want, and we demand our rights, we stand up on our legs and shout, and no one can or won't give up. And this is the feeling that we had in this demonstration.
Sure.
And this is the beautiful thing, to see that the whole community is gathered together and they are fighting and to demand their rights.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
Maybe next
Some of us were demonstrating in 1998 outside the GA in Jerusalem. Barbara will remember that. And I guess there's good news and bad news here. I think the good news is how many of you were in this room and how many esteemed Ethiopians are on this panel surrounding me, and the fact that 10 years ago in Haifa, this municipality of Haifa, there wasn't one Ethiopian working for the municipality of Haifa. There are now 20. That's all good news. And I think the fact that the Ethiopian community is taking their place at the table in this growing movement of social protests, women are taking their place at the table and saying, you know, we have had enough. But I think that the most wonderful thing is if we come together as different parts of the community, Ashkenazi, Ethiopian, Mizrahi, all of us, and continue to say to Israel, you know, we want to work together to make change. The fact that we can do that is an amazing thing, and I applaud the Israel democracy and the representative of the government of Israel for sitting here, because I'm not sure that would happen in many places in the world.
Have a sentence in Yiddish. In Yiddish say, a git Numen geh weit. A schlechter Numen geh noch weiter. It means the good thing, the good name go far, but the bad name go more far. Okay? So I think 90% in Medinat Israel today, with the Ethiopian Jewish community, 90%, maybe 80%, is Metzuyan. Because when I see student here, okay, student here, okay, and also, you know, they, Baruch Hashem, have success. It's amazing. It's amazing because the gap between, you know, new immigrant from Ethiopia and the Israeli is very, very big gap. And the Israeli, Ethiopian Jewish, they work very hard and they got succeed in Eretz Israel. It's amazing. Sometimes, but you know, one in Yiddish say Michigan or three Michigan in Kriyat Malachi, they, you know, do something bad. And people remember this very bad. They don't remember this student and me and all the Ethiopian community that succeeded in the United States. Okay, so this movie actually have a big stigma. Actually, I agree with this movie. In Eretz Israel, the problem is with stigma. Stigma is Ethiopian Jewish, you know, they're cute, okay? but they don't know, they don't clever, and we must change the stigma.
Thank you. To that. And the second question is, what do you think are the root causes of the increasing anti-Ethiopian sentiments reflected in these short clips? Who wants to start? You want to start since you are the organizer?
Yes, but you can start.
I have to, with your permission, first disagree with the way the question is phrased. First of all, I don't think that there is an anti-Ethiopian sentiment in Israel. I'm certainly not aware of it. The second one, the second issue is what you described. Well, the question is termed as a rise. I don't think there is a rise in a particular sentiment. Don't forget that this story was uncovered through journalistic research. So, like in many of those cases, it's more reported than it was maybe a few years ago. It doesn't necessarily reflect, it doesn't coincide with true numbers that show any increase of that nature, which I'm not aware of. I'm not aware of anything like that, and I don't think it exists. There were mistakes made. Mistakes will be made in the future. The trick is not to make the same mistake twice. When the recent wave of Ethiopian Jews came to Israel in 1991, it was part of a huge wave of immigrants that came to Israel. Not only Ethiopian Jews went into mobile homes in Haifa and in many other places. The predominant majority of the inhabitants of those mobile homes were in fact Jews from the former Soviet Union. And the reason for that was very simple. The government was unable, or thought it's not able, or felt it's not able to build enough houses for the over 1 million people that came in less than 2 years. Amazing numbers, and that's part of the issue. And when immigrants come, it's an issue. Sometimes they're discriminated against, they have difficulties and they struggle. The government, and Monday morning quarterbacking is always, in hindsight, is always 2020. And there's a Patriot fan here, you can testify to that, obviously. But it is a bit of a Monday morning quarterback. I don't think that it lays there in necessarily. I think that what we see now is two things coming together. One, like I said, is some very good journalistic investigation done by some people in Israel. The other one is the rise of people like the Ethiopian community who say, okay, enough is enough. We want to see action on that part. The younger people who, and you, Tina, you said it beautifully, they became Israelis. They demand their rights. And this is what usually happens with second-generation immigrants to any country. And I think Israel is not different in that case, and this case is not different in that sense.
These questions are not from me, they're from the community, from the sentiments of the community. So it is better to address to the community. Okay. Maybe we should, yeah, it must be better. Yeah, I think we will, maybe the members of the audience have a question.
There's a microphone in the middle.
Okay.
There's a microphone
Say
in the
your
middle.
name. Yes, please. Bavakasha, Umi. You ready? Yeah. I saw you. Oh, you are already there.
Maybe.
Okay, maybe people should come and line up. Okay, get
Line up.
Yeah, come and line up. Get okay.
We're gonna take.
I just want to tell our moderator, in 45 years he hasn't changed at all. He's just as lively as he was when we climbed up the mountain in Humboldt on in 1969. My question has to do with what we saw in the film. I'm wondering, no one has addressed at all what happened as a result of that demonstration. I think it's very important that we have some idea as to what was done to respond to the protests that we saw on the film.
Thank you.
You want to take a few questions and then?
Okay.
Have a line.
All right. Okay. What's the next question?
Yeah. The next question is, I have a feeling that most panelists were a bit did not address the issues or the ways to solve them in the more proper and direct manner. Meaning, first of all, to this problem of racism, which is the same term in English or in Hebrew. There's no difference, contrary to other people said. And segregated schools are a problem. It's more than just education. Education is a nice word. But when they wanted to solve segregation in the United States between blacks and whites, they had to bring the National Guard to prevent it. And so it is a political problem. In order to achieve political rights, you have to launch a political struggle.
Make your question short.
So my question is, what are the concrete steps to be done and to address it with clear words, address the problem and with the clear solution? Thank you.
Okay, I'll first answer the results that we have from the protest and demonstration. First of all, Gil actually touched it in a bit. We had a lot of let's say, journalists and media that covered the whole story. We were on the headlines, I think for 3 weeks, and my phone didn't stop to ring. People wanted interviews, and it was amazing. And the fact that it's actually the headline in the prime time, it means that it's a big issue, and people know that it's a big issue. So I'll go to the results. So if there's not results, we are in progress. Okay, we create, as I said earlier, we create let's say demands that we address to the Prime Minister and to few ministers about all the issues, including education, including employment also to the students or to the academics, and also to the older people. And I actually have it here, so I can tell you the headline about the police. About the problem with the police, discrimination in housing, discrimination with the Ministry of Religions, that actually also Tebeka working on it, about all the new immigrants, and this is the majority of the issue that we have. We have also another thing that we are doing. This is also in process. We have a few meetings in the House of Representatives, and we have a meeting. It's supposed to be next week with the Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We had a meeting with the assistants to Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, have assistant to all the Ethiopian issues. Something like that. His name is I think that this is something. Sorry, Alani. I'm sorry. I almost right. And we had a meeting with him. So we have a lot of meetings. We have a lot of non-profit organizations that are helping us. And also the mayors in a few cities. For example, in Kiryat Malachi, which the process starts over there, they get a decision to build a monument for all the Ethiopians that died in Sudan on the way to Israel. So we had achievements. We had a lot of programs in Kiryat Malachi that I built a program for the older people. I will teach them on the next 6 months. And so we're kind of building. We build everything.
Thank you very much. Please make your questions short. Okay. If it's a comment, say so, but again, make that short.
There was the second question. Can I just answer the second question? Okay. The second question was about models, and I touched on it. There are models that, well, first of all, I wanted to the earlier issue of the immigration. I think one of the sad things is that, Israel as a young democracy, unfortunately, didn't learn its lessons from the Mizrahi immigration in the 50s and wasn't prepared, and culturally wasn't prepared. So I think that is a lesson, hopefully, for whatever future immigration happens. But in terms of, there are models that are working. The model I talked about in Haifa is a model that's working. Gabi Nusi is our director there, the director of Shuvim. It's working. So the hope would be to look at what's working and see if it can be replicated throughout Israel. There's been programs that the JDC and others have done that are working. So I think that's part of it. And I think part of it was something that NACOJ, I know, lobbied on for a long, long time. I mean, unfortunately, a community was allowed to languish in Ethiopia because a mistake was made when we didn't take the first 5,000 Nafal Shmora. They came much less educated and much less prepared to enter Israeli society. And that's just a tragedy, and hopefully that chapter will end soon, finally.
So I think there are models, and I think...
Does anybody want to comment, or shall we go forward with the other questions? Yeah. By the way, Nancy has referred to NAPO twice. Barbara is here. Where is she? Barbara Lufo.
The Herald.
Okay. Anyway, please say your name. Ask a one-sentence question.
Okay. My name is Spencer Sinise, and I want to make a comment, and I also want to ask 2 questions, but it's going to be short.
You see the people behind you?
Yeah, yes, I know.
They have the same question.
I know, and I just want to congratulate whoever put that event together, and I'm very happy the fact that today I was supposed to be helping a friend of mine who was running for senator, and I told him I could not have been there because I have to support my wife and the Ethiopian community. My first question is, I'd like to know for the little preview that we saw, was everything actually recorded? Because it was very impressive to see how the Israeli government reacted. Because even here in the United States, when we have a protest, at times we can see there's like very brutal police force, and I did not see that on that video there. And my second question is, I would like for the ambassador to tell us what steps they are going to take to prevent this kind of things from happening. Because this is something that's actually destroying the picture of Israel. I'm saying that because everyone knows that in January 12, 2010, there was a big earthquake in Haiti. I'm from Haiti. And Israel was the first country to be there, to have a hospital on the ground. And I want to say thank you to the government.
Yes, my name is Yisura Yehuda, and I'm a member of the so-called Black Jewish community here in New York. And many of us want to stand in solidarity with the Beta Israel from Israel. My question is, many of you have talked about your background and what's happened with your family since your family first came here and how you progressed yourself. But I'm wondering about this demonstration. There's got to be something behind it. And what I'm wondering is, do many of you here represent a privileged segment of the Beta Israel or Ethiopian Israeli community, and perhaps do those that we see in these demonstrations represent another segment of the Ethiopian Israeli community? I wonder if someone could answer that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, who wants to answer? Yes, please.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Yuda. I think, as a student here at Rabbinic, been here for 2 years, I don't feel privileged, and the other people that you saw in the video are like less privileged than me. I was born and raised by pretty much the same families, and throughout the Ethiopian families, education, the will to succeed is there. The push from the parents that...
His mother is Jewish? Your mother is a Jewish mother?
Yeah, of course, yes.
And I'm a Jewish mother.
But what you see, I think, in videos, and you see Ethiopian, the youngsters that you see over here, it's like they're coming from all over the country. They're everybody, they're everywhere. There are students, there are people who work. They're less privileged, more privileged. Everybody's there and feeling the same feelings. It's been dormant, but with this new generation of Israelis, of Ethiopian Israelis, you see the will and the persistence of not shutting us up with our problems. We still have problems, but this time will not be as our parents. Our parents did a tremendous job in the integration, the effort to integrate us within the society, but still more work needs to be done. And our job as a young generation is continue that effort, continue that struggle, and to integrate within the Israeli community, so our children will have equal rights as every child in Israel. That's something.
Okay. Rabbi Sharon, do you want to comment later? There are quite a few people. Maybe let's listen to the questions. Now, could you introduce yourself first?
Good evening. My name is Marcus Smith. My wife is Ethiopian. Also, I'm a native of Haiti. According to the subject matter, before even this event, to things that I've been studying that have been going on to people of descendants.
I can hear you.
People of descendants of Ethiopia. What reparations? I have been studying the pattern. What reparations have the Israeli government made to the people of Ethiopia coming in who are descendants of people who are there, the Ethiopians in Israel? What reparations have been made to them?
Thank you.
I think this is addressed for me. I'm not sure. What do you mean when you talk about reparations? I can tell you that
let me somewhat be blunt. From the outcries of the Ethiopians, who are saying that they are treated unjust, from the social policies all the way up to the educational policies. What reparations have been made to make sure that it's an equal chance across the board?
Well, I will let you in a second. I want to make something clear. Immigrants who come to Israel get a certain package from the government, and all immigrants get it pretty much. It changes over the years, and it varies, but basically it gives them a chance to start a new life and to integrate into society. It includes 6 months classes of Hebrew, some sort of financial advice, financial aid, some sort of a vocational training, etc. Elements of housing, assistance in housing, etc. And that, like I said, that changes over the years. When it comes to what we've seen here now, as Dina said before, the Prime Minister has instructed his advisors and his cabinet basically to address the issue and find solutions. They are having discussions on this. They are having panels on this, and there are experts who are trying to find ways to better answer some of the issues that were raised here. This demonstration only happened about a month and a half ago, even less, I think. So this thing is still in process. These things are not solved overnight. The issues don't get resolved overnight. And I think that this is no different than any other. I think that we need to give it more time in the sense that we need to see what form of action will be taken. I'm pretty sure that Dina and her friends who are going to meet the Prime Minister, I understand, next week from what you said, are going to explain or say what they expect. I'm not sure that all expectations will be met, but I'm sure that some changes will be made, and this is the nature of a democracy. You come with your side, the government comes with its side, and there's a process of negotiation over there that's going to take some time to be implemented. So as far as what people receive when they come is one thing. As far as what's going on, there's a process going on in Israel, which I think its fruit we're going to see in the few months ahead of us.
Dina, did you want to say something?
We take one question, one last question.
Okay, my addition will be sure.
No, the two ladies will ask.
Okay, in addition, just for what Gil said about the steps or the aid that the government gives, there are problems with the government. I'm not trying to say they're not. But as I said earlier, the key is the education, not just the education, but also the education. And we have a few problems with the schools, elementary schools. But in general, you get a full scholarship to higher education. So this is a great way to integrate to the society. You get a full scholarship to go to university or college, and this is why Avigdor and Sharon and me actually had the opportunity to go and study. This is important.
Okay, the two ladies ask two short questions together. Say, please,
Hi, my name is Rolanza Azra, and my question was, I became interested in this issue because I started reading about the high rate of suicide among Ethiopians in Israel. And shocking. I mean, 5 to 10 times as high as the rest of Israelis. That says a lot to me. That says a lot. And it's, I mean, what's going on? What's the problem? Like the woman that asked before me, you know, I was hoping we would actually really explore the problems. And immigrants generally have, you know, a difficult time, which is true. But you know, look at the Ethiopian community in Toronto and Canada. They've really studied the mental health, and the Ethiopians actually, the immigrants who have a history of trauma and all these risk factors, have lower rates of mental illness. So I guess my question is, what is going on that Ethiopians in Israel have 5 to 10 times as high the suicide rate? And I think it would be great if we would have another forum where we can really have a better understanding of this, because we are concerned and we would like to help.
Thank you very much. And you're interested, did you say what you said?
Sorry?
Did you say who you...
Yes, I will answer. I was right. I'm a psychiatrist here in New York, and we do have a network of Ethiopians in the diaspora, and we'd love to be
Thank you, Alana. Thank you. I think this will be the last question.
I'm going to make a comment. I'm not going to ask you a question. I'm going to make a comment. Is that all right?
My name is Hiwet Nega, and my question...
And you are...
I'm sorry?
A student, teacher?
No, I went to Columbia Business School a while ago, and so my question is really, I think we came here because there is a problem. And that problem is focused on Ethiopians in Israel. And it's specific to Ethiopians in Israel. And I think the comment you made, I think the representative was a little bit, I felt it was a little bit denying that. And I think we need to accept that there is a problem, and you as a representative of the government should be also a representative of the Ethiopians in Israel. And beyond family and a father and responsible for children, I think as a government representative, it would be helpful to hear what are you going to do about it and how can we solve this problem.
Yes, I'm very happy about these 2 questions because they represent the sentiment of the majority of Ethiopian people. They are also concerned for the welfare of their fellow brothers and sisters in Israel. Am I right, sister?
Okay, I'll present the suicide rate. This actually, I think the saddest thing about the Ethiopian community. Last, I think, well, 2 weeks ago, there was, I think, I'm using the right terms. It was a double suicide, or that it was in the city near to Rehovot. The boy was 23 years, and he was known as a person that he has a kind of mental issue, and he tried to suicide before. And the mother, she found him dead in the room, and she didn't know what to do, and she also suicide with the same rope. Thank you. So and for me, I don't have a right answer for you, and I can add more problem that we have. It's the murders that we have in the community. That husbands kill the women. It's also, if you can compare to another community, the rate is very high. And I guess that this is just my guess and my opinion. I didn't do any research. We're actually working on it. Our group working on it. We have a few. We're working on it. We'll do some research. But what I think that this is also the results of the way that the people, I cannot say integrate, but they have a lot of misunderstanding, or they cannot find their identity, and this is a complex, and this is actually what happened when they come from a third world country, that that the way they lived their life were different when the man was the head of the family, the head of the house, and now he comes and he don't find any work, and the woman starts to become a very independent woman. She knows how to read, and usually, you know, women are better than men. So it's create problems, and they're not have the knowledge to go to psychology or to a social worker that will help them. Usually they are keeping the thought and the feeling inside. They're not outgoing, and this is the problem when they keep it, and one day they kill their wife, or one day they make suicide. And the question is how we can prevent it.
Right.
What we can do to prevent those things. How I can help this child to find his own identity. So I can tell you that in the last few months, I'm working with Tzavaka. Tzavaka is a non-profit organization that...
means lawyers.
Yeah, with lawyers. And I'm working with the teenagers in Netanya. Netanya, it's the population, the percent of the Ethiopian population over there is very high. I'm working with 2 neighborhoods that are very high neighborhoods. And there I'm speaking with those children. I teach them what is democracy, what is a country. Like you have judge, you have a court, you have the police, what is your right at the basic and the elementary things. And they don't know that. And when you don't know that at home and you go outside, this is the way that I grew up, so I really understand them and why you are kind of, you try to go upstairs and try to find yourself, and this is the problem, and we have to work, and you actually right.
Now, I would like to conclude by each member of the panelists saying one sentence.
There's another question.
Well, I think the last question.
The fellow there had a comment. Yeah.
So, if you, members of the panel, want to say one last sentence, because the time is getting...
Excuse me, I had a question about what the government is going to do about the problem that is very specific to...
Oh, I think this question was addressed, and it was asked.
No, it was not addressed, because I asked what are the steps the government is going to take to prevent that from happening.
Okay. Maybe in the answer,
I first want to say I don't know where this sentiment is coming from that there's a denial of a problem. Denial would mean that I would not be here tonight. I'm here tonight representing the state of Israel because clearly there's an issue that needs to be addressed. So I don't know why would somebody say that we're denying the fact that there's a problem. You're all here tonight because there's an issue that needs to be discussed. And if it enraged somebody that I expressed my personal emotions as a father, as an Israeli, before an employee of the government, I certainly apologize for being human. Now, to the question at hand, as discussed earlier, there are community, educational, and also mental health programs which are implemented in Israel on a regular basis. As to the issues that were raised here at the beginning of the evening, the government is taking measures to rectify the situation. As I said before, and as others here on this panel said beforehand, this is not a matter that's going to be resolved overnight. There are discussions in the Knesset, in appropriate committees for this matter. There are discussions held by the cabinet, and advisors of the Prime Ministers are meeting with people and representatives of the community in order to find better ways to reach understanding about future steps that should be taken. If you in fact believe that this issue can be solved in 3 weeks, or in a magic pill, or in something that happens overnight, I have very bad news for you. This is not the case. And when we talk about education, education is not something simplified. Education means that we go and we rectify the curriculum, and we add some components into it, so our children grow better understanding each other, and the difference between them, and what brings them together as Israelis, as Jews, as human beings. This is the way you rectify the situation on a wider scope. On the day-to-day steps, there are experts in those fields and they will take the measures. I am not an expert on that, but I can assure you that it's been addressed.
I just want to thank everyone here because this is an incredible crowd, and I remember too many forums in the Jewish community when there'd be 5 or 10 people in a room. So the fact that you're all here, I think, is fantastic. Thank you. I just would also say that advocacy is very important, and there are organizations in this room that do advocacy. Speaking out is very important, and supporting these unbelievable young activists and representatives from Israel, from the Ethiopian community. The fact that I remember a day when there weren't Ethiopians sitting on these panels, it was all Ashkenazi Jews. So I think that's an amazing, amazing sign, and I am just very proud to have been part of the movement. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I think, just to be, just the bottom line of the Israeli society, I think there's a notion in the Israeli society that every new group of immigrants have to suffer the same as the previous one. And I think when that notion is going to be corrected, it's going to be perished, you're going to see a change, a real change in the Israeli society. Yeah. And just to end this night, I want to thank you all for coming here, hearing us, and I think the whole point of this event and the demonstration back in Israel is awareness, and we need to be better educated about on our peers, on the Israeli society, and our culture, different cultures. We can learn a lot from each other. Thank you.
And maybe brachot. You can say say some words. Do the last word.
I'm trying to be polite. I wanted them to finish. I'll wait till they finish. Yeah, I just want. First off, giving respect to the God of Abraham, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. I just wanted to say I appreciate that y'all allowing us to be a part of your cause. I appreciate y'all courage and everything that y'all doing out in Israel, and you definitely have the support of fellow Jews here in the United States. And I just wanted to say, as we approach the season and the time of Purim, I want to just say that let's be reminded, not what Mordecai said, not what Esther might have said, not what maybe the king of Persia, Ahasuerus, might have said, but actually what wicked Haman might have said. And he said, there's a people amongst you that are scattered and separated. And there's always something to be considered when you hear that, those two similar terms. And we have to realize that we can no longer be scattered or separated. And one of the first things we should do is not consider ourselves just Ethiopian Jews, European Jews, black Jews, just a Jew. And then we're no longer scattered.
Amazing evening, for your support, and it's wonderful to know that there are people that thinking in our way and thinking about us, and thank you for that. I will close with saying that there is a problem in Israel, for sure, definitely. There is a problem, and the question is what we can do and what we will do. As I said during this evening, we did a few things, and the major problems that exist is education, it's the employment, and it's the suicide and the murders that happens in our community. And this is actually kind of the result of, let's say, bad decisions that happens in the last decades. And we really need to learn from those mistakes and never give up, because this is actually a wake-up call right now. And we really need to take advantage and don't give up. And there is a voice, and there are people that are trying to listen to our voice. Now it's really up to us, and we have to be united and keep strict and reach to our goals. And hopefully next time that I will be in New York,
Thank you.
It's not your
Thank you very much. And then the rabbi will say the last word.
Professor Isaac. Professor Isaac, Mori Rabbi, you are a rabbi.
Well, traditionally, every educated Jew is a rabbi. And again, that's another problem we have to solve in Israel.
Okay, first, I want, one word, if we can remember this evening, this responsibility, to take responsibility. This evening organized by DJ, by Ricky, Elkane, and Joey, but this is organized by Ethiopian because they take responsibility and they did something beautiful evening. Okay? This is responsibility. So in Eretz Yisrael, if they can take responsibilities, it's very, very nice. And I close. Someone told me once, if we exist the finger, see, have one short, one high, one short like this, they different. But when the finger bend like this, all the fingers equal. Okay? If you say like this, I am better than you, I am Ashkenazi, I am Moroccan, I am black, I am Ethiopian like this, it's not good. If we can't bend like this, each other's, so we can recognize that all people, they equal like this.
Thank you. To organize this, to say a few closing words, I personally want to thank you all. I apologize to those of you who wanted to ask questions and didn't ask. And my great hope is, as we said already, we have a good beginning. And I'm very pleased we are speaking openly. The Consul said, the Israeli government is also aware of the problem, is taking responsibility. The community is taking responsibility. Therefore, we have begun, and I'm quite sure we'll have a very good conclusion. Now let me call upon BJ and Ricky to thank you very much again for organizing this, and God bless you. And we will have our singers, men and women having fun.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isaac. And I want to thank you all, our panelists, Dina, Barbara, Gil, Dr. Isaac, Rabbi Sharon Shalom, Avido. Thank you very much, Toda Rabba. Now we're going to have a closing remark, and as well we will have the chance to introduce you to our team that brought all this event together, all the hard work and so forth. So let me invite Batia to say some closing remarks.
Without Batia, we couldn't make it happen today. So she worked really hard. She's waiting to not have a baby before this evening. So we're so happy she's with us. Thank you very much for coming. This is continue. We have to continue to talk.
I'm very conscientious of time, so I apologize. But before I actually do say a few comments, I do want to say thank you to everybody that made the effort to come here, all the guests, all the panelists, and our supporters, our sponsors, Israel at Heart, the 92nd Street Y, our Beit Hillel, the Concordia Bernard Hillel, our two organizations that were very, very active and involved, Bina and Hasidah Shmela, thank you. And of course, I'll introduce the team later on, so be patient. I also want to thank all the sponsors that gave us the refreshments for tonight. I hope I'm not going to forget anybody, but Ethio Restaurant, Awash, Hummus Place, Taya Steakhouse, and a Conditoria that I forgot the name. But thank you. Seasons. Okay. And My name is Batia Yuseret. I've been living here in New York for a little bit over 6 years. Prior to coming to New York, I used to be the head of an Ethiopian organization in Israel called the Israel Association for Ethiopian Jews. It's an advocacy organization that does the everyday struggle and fight on a variety of issues and some of the issues that we talked about tonight. So when we presented this evening today, it was with the same thought that we wanted to engage people about what's going on in Israel, but also to let people know that we could actually engage in this civil conversation and talk about the issues and the problem that our community is facing without being anti-Israel, because we are Israelis.
Amen.
Proud of the panelists and the organizers and how they were able to convey this message, that we worked really hard to make sure that this information was actually passed in a proper manner. I also want to say on the same note that the issue of the Ethiopian Jews has always been a struggle. It's not something new. And I do understand that it's similar in many ways to other immigrant groups, but I wasn't born yet. I was born, but I wasn't here. But in 1979, when the UJ Federation had their National Assembly, their General Assembly, for the first time that they had Ethiopian Israelis speak at their forum to advocate on behalf of the Ethiopian Jews, to bring the Ethiopian Jews from Ethiopia to Israel, and it was here in North America. They came to North America to ask for the advocacy support of the American Jews and others. One of those people that were on that audience was my uncle, Baruch Tagene, and the other person was Yonah Bugala, whose great-grandson is right here in the audience. So, it means a lot to see all these young people of our generation come up and advocate for the rights of their fathers, forefathers, and the future generation, because our parents did it, our uncles, our grandfathers, our grandmothers did it, and now it's our turn. So thank you for allowing us to do that in such an open forum. Another thing that I want to make a comment on is the racism and discrimination and the differences that we talked about so much. Definitely, I don't think anybody's denying that there is racism and discrimination, but I do want to make a distinction that the type of racism and discrimination that we are seeing in Israel is extremely different from the type of discrimination and racism we see here in the United States of America. And I think it's to make the two compare the two as if they're the same is wrong, and is not going to help us resolve the problems that we have in Israel. First of all, it's not systemic. It's not systemic. There is no systemic racism that says Ethiopian Jews are not allowed. They're not allowed in this school. There is no policy that targets directly Ethiopian Jews from having access to any of the things that we're talking about. There is a lot of work that needs to be done on the implementation of existing anti-discrimination laws that are not being implemented. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on community and municipality and various public and private sectors that need to embrace and accept. And if somebody goes out of line, somebody needs to get punished for it. And the government needs to step up to the plate and make sure that when somebody is discriminating another person, especially a public official, then something has to happen. Not saying anything, but actually giving access to that person to continue to discriminate the community. And there's a lot of other differences, in my opinion. I do want to make a comment about the suicide rate. The lady in the back, psychologist who mentioned about the community. There is such a huge rate of suicide rate among the Ethiopian community, and but there are resources that are available, but they are not dealing with it properly. And I think part of the problem is also internally within our community. We're not used to talk to psychologists, because to talk to a psychologist, to talk to a counselor is a stigma, is admitting that there is some kind of a mental health. So we don't reach out and we don't ask for help. And I think there are groups that are trying some work, but I think having a forum like you mentioned, it could have been so much more beneficial than to put it under the carpet. On that note, I do want to say thank you to the team of people that worked on this evening with us. And I'm going to invite each one of them here. BJ. Conclude this evening with Hatikvah. So we would invite all of you to stand up for the Hatikvah.